promote the gift that you have inside so that we can be strong as a people financially, and also with the gifts that we do, maybe one day we'll all have about Fortune 500 businesses. So that's what we're here for today. So, in this two-day course, if some of you guys are gonna be here for a whole 2 days, we're gonna split it up because we don't wanna throw too much information, but we're gonna give you as much as we can within a short period of time. So financial literacy, I will say, is not an overnight process. I'm not big on just being a slideshow. I do wanna be personable, but I have my reason why I'm in this business, and which is part of my why. Of course, I just went over our mission, of course, is to help people so you can understand finance, build savings, achieve independence, but I had my own why because I have my own testimony. So I have been, full transparency, in my lifetime, I've been homeless 3 times. I have been incarcerated before. I was not taught financial literacy. Now I did want to learn. I wanted to know when I was a child. I was always like, how are people rich? How do people get wealthy? I wanted to know, how can I be what I saw and not of the environment that I came from. Now, my parents were great parents. I'm not saying nothing bad about them, but I always watched my mother and my dad yelling at her about running up credit cards. So I thought my mindset was credit cards are bad. Okay, I don't want to be like my mother and running up my Macy's card. So my dad would hide money from her. Now, we had a roof over our head. We never went homeless they never were able to keep a roof, but we were struggling, I told my son, he's spoiled. We had bologna sandwiches sometimes. We had Spam in a can. So I just wanted to grow up making sure my kids had a better life. Now, unfortunately, when I was as a teenager in my 20s, now I did get a good job. I did do the thing they tell you to do, go to school, get a job, all that stuff. But I thought I needed more. So I always kept the side hustle, whether it was good or bad, and tried to say, well, I gotta just get rich real quick. I thought getting rich was the way to go. Unfortunately, that just caused me more problems, and I still didn't get to the goal that I was trying to achieve. So it took about many years to get to the point where I'm at. But I was blessed to get a job in finance when I was in school because I needed to support me and my young child as a single mother to have health insurance. I tell people before Obamacare, you didn't have health insurance, and they wouldn't offer to you if you had a part-time job or made more than a certain amount of money. So I had to go to work full-time. I had no interest in finance. Now I wanted to get money, but I didn't have an interest in being in the industry. I got a job at the bank. So when I went to the bank, they didn't tell me everything. They just gave me a 401k, they gave me a pension. It wasn't a good government job, but it was a good downtown in the city job where I lived at. And I did okay for myself. But when I left that job, now I left it for a good reason. I was trying to go back to school and transition to some other things that I wanted to really do. But they didn't tell me, okay, what do you do with your pension when you leave? How do you still stabilize without the full-time job? So I still went through financial difficulties, I would say over a period of a decade, but I stayed my career in finance. And I tell people to this day, had I not been in the position that I'm in and learning from some great mentors and the jobs that I had, I might not even know half of what I know right now. Because before the World Wide Web and YouTube University, I call it, there was no clear way unless you read a book, and even the books they had in the library really didn't teach you on how to become wealthy or have a wealthy mindset. So that is just my bio, and today we're going to go over the subject matters of financial psychology. That's why I'm opening with my story, because it really is mindset. I wanted to have money, but I had a mindset to get money, but I thought getting money was the solution. But learning how to manage, budget, save, understanding credit. Like I said, I thought all credit cards were bad, so I didn't even get my first credit card until I was like 31. But I didn't have any credit history when I wanted to go get a loan and start a business. So I had to learn all these things. Now, our partner, he did just introduce ourselves, TK Pryor. Now, his background was totally different from mine. He came from background in tech. He was in the military. But the thing is that his mother transferred something to him when she passed away. So he's passionate about educating people. It's important to set your children up, provide generational wealth, and to give your next generation a leg to stand on. You don't know what's going to happen. Even young as I am, I've had friends that have passed away, whether it was by tragedy, by health issues, or some other circumstance, and they left their young children, and nobody is financially prepared to help them. So it's important that whether it's through avenues of life insurance, doing a trust and estate planning. We're gonna talk just a little tad bit on it. Some people think estate planning, and I did used to think that until I got into working in places like Bethesda, Potomac, and McLean, was just for the rich and wealthy people. But it really isn't. We can protect our own assets, and us as African Americans, they don't want us to learn this because they want us to stay in poverty, to stay into the control of the system. But we can protect the little things that we do have, and as we continue to grow them, we can continue to collect assets and have something not just when we go away, but hey, if we have a family member says, I'm gonna start a business, we can all come together and say, I have some savings, you have some savings, and we can work together to build up our families, our communities, and our friends to be able to accomplish their goals. So one of the things that, even though we're gonna talk about the basis of finances, we do have an entrepreneurship initiative. That's why they brought us here today, because you might not be able, maybe you don't, I know personally, I was a creative person. I didn't always wanna have a job for the rest of my life. I didn't see myself working for 20 and 30 years at the same company over and over and being, I call it being slave to the corporate, to the corporate man. You know, some people, it's okay. If you love what you do, like some people love being a teacher, some people love being in medical, if you like practicing law, whatever it is in your life that you like to do, it's okay to work, but work with a plan. And then if you do have a passion for something, find out how you can turn that into, you know, being profitable, but with still being able to do what you want to do. So we talk about so many different ways that you can, you know, use your financial skills to leverage to be able to maybe start your own business or do your own thing. So I want to start with a disclaimer. Even though between me and TK we have 5 or 6 different licenses and certifications, I'm not here as a service professional today. I'm only here in the capacity as an educator. So if you guys have questions, I can't answer any questions like, I have 2,200 in the bank, what investment should I put it in, and how do I do X, Y, Z? I legally cannot do that because I don't know, I would have to have a sit-down personal conversation to be able to do that with my professional hat. But I want you guys all to engage. If you have any general questions, and it doesn't have to be general, but just not to your specific situation, I'm more than willing to have it to answer. What I do for housekeeping is that I'm gonna go through each subject matter and make sure I emphasize certain things, and then I'm gonna stop. And I'm gonna do a segment where you guys can ask questions. If you wanna ask, I just wanna make sure we get the information out, and we're not doing too much talking in between. But I will allot time between each subject matter. You guys can ask questions. We'll have a break before we do the budgeting session, because budgeting is gonna get, I'm gonna have homework for you guys. That's why you have folders, so that way you can go home and you can take and apply whatever you learn here. If you're good at with some of these things, that's great. If you have a leg up on credit already, if you're just starting out, it doesn't matter. We just wanna be able to say anything that you learned here today, and if you ask a question, you can go to somebody you know or you trust, a professional, go look it up online, information is free, to be able to apply each of these steps to your daily life. I always say it's one day at a time, one step at a time. With money, it is a mental thing. I tell people, please don't operate from emotion. I'm guilty of that. I said in my 20s, I used to operate with anxiety. I gotta pay a bill. How am I gonna get this money today? You know, but I had to learn this. It took years for me to be able to be, I could say, financially fit, but I'm still a work in progress every single day. So, you know, we all know statistics, you know, not just with our culture. Now, with our culture, we have some of the race versus statistics when it comes to saving money, having wealth, and being in a financially stable position. But in the entire United States of America, most people, 63% of people, are not in a position where if they lose their job tomorrow, which a lot of people right now, both in private and government sector, just in this area, 70,000 people lost their jobs recently. So imagining large numbers of people not being able to know where their next paycheck's coming from. Some of them might have had a savings, some of them may have not. But the statistics are is that even apart from middle class or poverty level, they don't have money in the bank to make it to the next thing. They have to figure out what they're gonna do. A lot of people say, well, they get money, but their expenses are maybe high, so it makes it unstable, because whenever the money comes in, it's going right out. And I don't know if anybody knows, does anybody know about any of that, have experienced that? I'm making money, but I'm not seeing it. And then the other thing is that statistics are about 42% of families would face financial hardship with the loss of any wage earner. So some people do have two people working in the household. So it's even like I was a single mother for many years, so I had to do it by myself. I didn't have somebody to split the bills with. So if something happened to me, everything goes. That's why I've been homeless before. Like I've experienced getting evicted, having a medical ailment, can't provide for myself. So it's important that we definitely learn some way. And I tell people, I know when you live paycheck to paycheck and the money goes in and out, but I say you spend money on something. I'm going to give an example. I did a class at my church last night. I started my own coffee bar at home where I have my own organic coffee. I order at a discount or order things on sale. I order things that are healthy for my body. So I don't really go to Starbucks anymore. Now, I might treat myself once in a blue moon, but at Starbucks, I will tell people, when I worked at the bank, I was treating my whole staff to Starbucks, paying for their drink, my drink, and I probably went there twice a day. So if you know the prices, you can try to add up how much in a year I spent on just getting coffee. $6,000. It adds up very quick. In my class I taught the other day in my church, this lady says she's in the process of doing her taxes, and she itemized the money she was spending with her son eating out and taking money from her, and she said it was over $4,000. So like I said, when I was a kid, my mom said make a bologna sandwich, get some Spam in a can, but I'm not saying it has to be that dire, but getting in the habit of, hey, maybe I can sacrifice spending money today. I'll just make a meal that's gonna last me 2 to 3 days. I'm gonna bring leftovers to work, not eat out today. So simple things like that, it adds up over time. So if you can save $5 a day, 5 times 30 days in a month is what? $300, right? And then you take that $300 and redirect it into something that makes you more money. And we'll get more detailed into that later. My partner did kind of get into it a little bit, teaching people about compounding interest, what vehicles are some areas where you can put your money into, whether it's investing in real estate, investing in a financial, I wouldn't say banking. I was at the bank. Banks don't really give you much interest these days. But finding out what is the best way to do, and you can, do that research as well. So one of the things, like when we first start talking about financial psychology, it's not about how much, I don't ever start a conversation about how much money do you need? How rich do you want to be? How about start from thinking about what is it that you want to do? What is your actual goal? What is your real passion? And then your money should line up. Your goals should line up based upon what you're trying to accomplish. Everybody's mindset of what they need is different. Some people might just be comfortable, hey, I just want to do nonprofit work. I want to do things for the community. I'm okay getting $4,000 a month for the rest of my life, and I don't need anything else. So they might not want to be wealthy per se with millions of dollars. That might not be their end goal. They're okay with just being able to pay their bills, maybe travel once a month, and that's their okay way of life. So you have to know what it is, what is your goal? What is it that you want to do? And based on what you want to do, what does that require? No matter how big or how small. If you have big dreams, then hey, you probably might have to work a little harder or do some more aggressive things, but that doesn't mean it's unreachable. Whatever there's no limit on what you want to do. It's about the steps and the tools and the strategies you use to get there. And that's wealthy mindset. Wealthy people don't worry about stuff like that. They just, hey, well, I want to do this. What do I need to do to make that happen? Whether it's using other people's money, my money, or whatever I need to leverage. Those are words you're going to hear a lot. Leverage. A lot of us think we have to come up with all the money by ourselves. There's ways to get to your goals without you having to have it all. Sometimes it could be information. It could be intellectual property information. A combination of finance. But you have to figure that out for yourselves, what that goal is. Now, once you figure that out, the end goal of all this is that we want to have a good quality of life. Because I will tell you, and we've probably seen people, money don't make people happy. So it's not about money. At the end of the day, the result is that, first of all, you can't even have your health without your wealth. I can attest to that big time. As a young person, I've been almost near death twice. So I'm happy just to be here first. So that's the greatest wealth, because when I couldn't work and I wasn't healthy, guess what I couldn't do? I couldn't make money. Nor could I spend it because I was focusing on getting my body right. So you want to make sure you're taking care of yourself first. Financial stability creates probably mental wellness because you're not in a constant state of fear. You're not stressed. So at least if you have a good handle on things with what you have, always tell people, just start where you're at. You don't have to have a lot. If you can manage $100, you can manage $1,000. If you can manage $1,000, you'll be able to manage $100,000. So it's the same concept. I said, if you get a raise at your job, why spend more? Just keep the same like discipline that you did when you were at the job with less money, and put more money in places for the direction you want to go. The other goal is, could you imagine just the freedom to make a choice without any limitations? Hey, I just want to jump on a plane today, never go to Los Angeles. I just want to sit by the seaside and just say that I just want to do that. I think that's phenomenal. Like when I was younger, I just envisioned myself, let me just take a plane and go eat in France and come back real quick for lunch. But some people might say that's crazy, but why should I be limited in my mindset? If that's what I want to do, some people might be okay, let me just go to my favorite soul food place down the street, get my sweet potato pie every day and be able to afford it, you know? So whatever that looks like for you, you know, you just want to be able to do it. And then of course, the main thing is you want to live life on your purpose. So I don't bring religion into my classes, but I believe God made us all for our individual gifts and purposes. So whatever that is, if we're trying to find that and figure that out, if it came to that, you want to be in a position where you can do the things you want to do, not the things you have to do. So this course really does get into the mental, pretty much how you think about money. Because a person can teach you education on what to do all day, but if you don't apply what you learn, and you have certain mindsets that are stuck in your mind, you may be tempted to just do the wrong decision. You might not do the things that you just learned because your mind is still, I say your mind plays tricks on you. It could be your worst enemy, like, you know, good angel, bad angel. So in order for you to take tips and learn things, that doesn't mean one person knows all things, but you have to be an open mind to learn wisdom from others. Good knowledge, good wisdom, and good information. So, most people don't realize sometimes having financial stress is a form of PTSD. It's actually like not a mental illness per se, but your emotions are connected with your money. You suffer trauma from having bad financial experiences. And people don't even realize PTSD is not just you went to the military or you experienced a tragic situation or you went through something that was traumatizing, you know, the other stuff that we think of which is traumatizing. You get PTSD from financial stress. If you have been in a situation for a long time where you're constantly, I gotta make it till tomorrow, I gotta do this, I gotta figure out how to feed my family, that in turn at some point can become very traumatizing. If we saw our parents or others before us go through it, it can traumatize you as a child, because as a child, we're worried about, okay, how do I help my parents? Maybe it might make the kid feel like, oh, when I get older, I don't wanna spend money because I don't wanna be like my parents. So it can be psychologically debilitating and formulate how we feel about money as adults. So, you know, there is medical, you know, knowledge that said financial stress can cause those type of issues. Also, it can cause debilitating and destructive impact. So, you know, that can mean a lot of things. Like for me, I made bad decisions because I was trying to get money in a way that wasn't good. So I thought the goal was I have to make money at whatever means I have to do it to survive. So sometimes people, they make that, it could be anything. It could be a gambling habit. Hey, maybe I'll go to the casino and I'll make my money today, and then turns into an addiction. So that need to want money just turns into something else that became more destructive. So there's so many different levels and things that can also mean. People might treat people differently because of money. So it could destroy relationships. So I've already kind of covered this a little bit, but you know, pretty much your behaviors on money start when you're a child, what you saw when you were growing up, and the environment around you. So I noticed when my grandmother used to take us places, I grew up not in an economically good place. I just think it was economically depressed. But she would take us places and I'm like, oh, people work for a living? One of the things we used to joke about is that we used to see people driving a BMW and I'm like, oh, they're not getting pulled over by the police. Why is that? But that was the environment that I lived in. I literally lived in a place that most people that owned that car, they were either a drug dealer, and if I was, and they got pulled over in somewhere else, they would be pulled over and questioned by the police because they were driving a nice car. But that's a psychological impact I had in my environment because of what I experienced growing up. Versus somebody that maybe they grew up in that and they didn't even know that was a thing or that existed. So it could go both ways. Somebody that never had financial trauma may not be able to relate to somebody that did. Then there's generational and, beliefs that are passed about money. You know what I hear sometimes? That, like, we talk to people about planning. We just talked about passing on generational wealth. Like if somebody passes away, TK's mother died, she left them some type of inheritance. They say, oh, we don't believe in insurance. That's of the devil, or maybe we don't believe in credit or interest. Everybody has their own beliefs. We don't believe in taking loans from the bank. We believe cash is king. That was the one I used to hear all the time. I knew somebody that used to keep money, big money, in their mattress. So everybody had their belief. I had somebody say, I don't want my money in the bank, so those type of things infiltrate and be able to, they cause problems, growing up with different things when we want to function later in life. All right, everyone that just came in, we do have folders for you. TK, well, not your recording. Oh. There you go. Welcome, welcome, welcome. There you go. Some information later that you can use for yourself. All right, you can just join in. All right, and for everybody that just came in, we were explaining you can ask questions in between the modules, so that way you can interact. This is not just a class where you're gonna listen, we want you to participate, okay? So the beliefs that we have formed, not just our family, it could be the friends we're around. It could be our neighbors, it could be our coworkers. So we learn things from our environments and the people, and now we have media everywhere. So it's not like the old days where you just have one television show, an ad. We are taking in so much information, whether it's social media, if you're on 6 different platforms, you're constantly inundated with information. But is the information you're receiving good? Is it influencing the way you spend? Is it influencing the decisions that you make? But the information you're receiving, you need to make sure it's good information. Can it be, is what this person's saying true? Can I go back and validate that this is what they're
I'm
saying?
not sure,
Sometimes
but
they'll influence you the wrong
ask
way.
someone that works
So you
outside.
just have to be careful of where you're getting your information from. Make sure if you're making financial decisions, now everybody can't afford to just go pay somebody to talk to for a professional, but just information out there that is valid. Just make sure it's credible. If you can't talk to a professional, and have them help guide your decisions. Don't listen to make a decision off of something, an influencer on social media. But not saying that all influencers are bad. There's some very good information. I've actually like TikTok sometimes. They have some really good information and it's from the right source. But just make sure you're paying attention to the information you're getting. Now this is the one that I like. It's mindset. Scarcity versus abundance mindset. Now, like I just said in the beginning, our core values are shaped when we were children about the way we think about money. Now, abundance mindset doesn't mean somebody has a lot of money, per se, or maybe not a lot of money yet. Abundance mindset is pretty much you're walking in knowing that I have abundance, regardless of whether I have a lot or I have a little, but because I have the tools and I have the information to make the decisions to get me there, I'm already walking in abundance mindset. So I'm not abundance meaning I'm gonna go spend and splurge and go on a shopping spree or buy the fanciest car. But abundance meaning like, I have all that I need. I have my health, I have my children, I have a house, I have the basics of what I need to survive. Now, can you make something better in your abundance mindset? Of course, you can grow from that. But you already have the mindset that I'm not chasing a whole lot because I'm okay right now where I'm at and I'm managing, but I wanna continue to get better. Now, scarcity, that has a lot to do with what you grow to, because you're thinking, I'm always lacking something. I'm missing this, I don't have enough. There's people that they get a lot and they still think they don't have enough. So it comes from a mindset. They're like, oh, you look at somebody and be like, you're doing way better than me. I think you're okay. And they're like, no, I need more, I need more. So they're always chasing because they don't think they have enough. So you have to decide what mindset do you wanna have. Or you have the mindset, hey, I got my limbs, I got my legs, let's just start with the basics. But if you continue to think like that, you'll always be okay. You're never gonna be like, okay, if you get more and you wanna do the steps that it takes to get more, yes. But if you're always thinking you're lacking, you'll never have enough. And pretty much everything I just said, abundance is a gratitude and appreciation for everything. I'm okay just be standing here and talking to people today. People have to think like that every day. I woke up in my right mind. I woke up and at least for right now, everything's okay. Like nobody died today. You know, I can enjoy the sunlight. I can enjoy a simple meal, you know. Now, this is very important. What is your relationship with money? How does money make you feel? So if you don't have money, you have money. I mean, most of the time our emotions are tied to money. That's why I said it's not good to make emotional-based decisions when making financial decisions. Does it make you feel anxious? Does it make you feel agitated? Some people get a lot of money and we tell, those are the people who be like, oh, well, they got their head big now, you know? So they feel like they're powerful. But if you have the right mindset, I've met wealthy people that don't act like they have wealth. I've met somebody, they were just in a regular shirt, grow more every day, you know, came into my office, but come to find out they're a multimillionaire. But they just walk around like normal everyday people. They're not fancy, they're not promoting I'm this, I'm that. They don't have that ego that fills the room. They're just like every other person because they're comfortable in their own skin, whether they have money or not. I will say anxiety, being anxious is a big deal. I met a lot of people, including myself in my 20s, we had anxiety about money. Everything made us anxious about money. Feeling secure. Some people feel, oh, if I have money, I'm secure. I've heard those people say, I'm okay, I don't need nothing, I'm doing well, you know. And it's okay. But sometimes you don't want to get too, you know, you want to really still have an open mind to keep moving because a lot of people found out recently they thought the good government job, they were secure, they okay. But sometimes you're one paycheck away from anything happening. It could be one health disaster away. Anything can happen in life, so don't get too comfortable in this. It's okay to be secure, but just also be okay if things change or things evolve. Now, I think all of us probably can answer all these questions. So, I'm gonna ask somebody just to give me a broad explanation because I think we've all been here, and there. But let me know, your name's Tim, right? Tim, tell me, how do you feel when you have to spend for unexpected expenses? Is that bad? See, that's what I'm saying. It makes you feel some type of way, right? It hurts, right? So everybody has different feelings of when something comes up. So unfortunately, a lot of us have more the unhealthier feelings. Oh my God, my car broke down, or this happened, my children want some money, can I get some money, mom? You know, whatever it is, something come up, it could produce all types of feelings. Like you said, he's really hurt. So you have to kind of figure out first, how are you in a place where you can take the steps to detach yourself emotionally from money? So imagine if you were in a position where you're stabilized in your mindset, even if you don't have it, well, this problem came up, but you know what, there's a solution to it. I'm gonna do my best to do what I can control, take the steps that I can take because I have the tools to take action to try to fix my situation. So that approach versus, oh man, how he's feeling, how I used to feel, I've been there, did that, you know. So those are the things we have to figure out in our head. Even if you can go home and fix your credit, save money, become wealthy, you have to be able to say, hey, if this happens, I'm not gonna get upset, I'm not gonna get emotional. Now, we're human. I always say it's okay to feel something for a moment, but then you gotta take the step back and say, you know what? I'm not gonna let this affect me. That's how we fix it. Even if I can't fix it right now, I have to find a temporary solution until I can fix it, and be okay with that. Save my mental health, save my blood pressure, save my anxiety, you know. The other question is how would you feel if you had to make a tough financial decision right now? You wanna answer that for me? How would you feel? How does that make you feel? Okay, so yours is more of like a little anger? Is it anger? It make you upset?
Yeah.
See, he was hurt, you're upset, right? Okay, I get it. It's not an easy thing to do, but it's still the same answer I just gave for the first answer. Okay, all right, well, gotta make a decision. Let me make a good informed decision. That's the difference. You can make an informed decision. Let me see whatever decision I have to make. let me make sure I have all my options in front of me, determine what's the best route or decision and how that decision would impact me going forward. That would be the way, the healthy way to deal with it. Don't be intimidated. Don't be overwhelmed with it. Sometimes we have to make tough decisions in life. Some decisions are like I don't want to say the bad word, something if you do and something if you don't. But, you know, you're in a like no-win situation. But the best way to do is to approach it from like a holistic approach and say, hey, these are the decisions I have to make. This is what I'm choosing from. Whatever decision I make, this is how it's going to impact me, others, or my life. And then you have to determine what's going to be best for you at the end of the day.
You're at 30.
That's all you can do.
Chantel, you're at 30.
Okay. All right, so how do you feel? This is something that when it comes to compulsive and impulsive behaviors. How do you feel after you have purchased something that you weren't supposed to buy? You want to answer that for me back then?
I'll make purchases that I don't even need.
Have you ever purchased something where after the fact you felt that maybe I really didn't need it? No? Okay, so that means you got some good constraint. You might have some good financial restraint on what you do. Has anybody here bought something and they had an experience where they felt bad after buying it?
A lot of times, to be honest, like, I go in the store for one thing, and then I leave out with so much more than what I was, intending on going in there for, and I'm like, why did I do that? I know I didn't even need to have that stuff that I just got, but I just had it.
Yeah, so I can relate to that too. So you're one of those people that felt that way. And if you felt that way, there's something wrong with it. It is what it is. Hey, maybe I could have restrained myself. Maybe I shouldn't have bought it. But what I've learned over the years, the best way to do is if you're going to buy something or you something you really need to purchase, have a plan for it. Even if it's a want, I still believe you should have the things you want, but just within reason. As long as it doesn't hurt your budget, it doesn't take away from paying your rent, your bills, or something you were supposed to do tomorrow. That's when you really feel bad because you know that money could have went to something that would have been more impactful. Yep. So that would be like a way to alleviate that. Before you go buy, what I had to learn was make a list. I said, my mother used to make lists. I wonder why she make lists all the time. Don't go to the store hungry if you're going to the grocery store. That's another thing. Make sure you have a game plan. Like, you really treat it like a game plan. Like, I don't even do, well, I try to shop black anyway now, so I really don't do stores and stuff like that anymore. But when I would go to the mall, go for what did I come here to do? Even if it's something for us, hey, this is all I need. I need this outfit to wear to this event I'm going to. I'm only buying a dress. I'm buying shoes that don't cost more than $50 and stay within the budget. And don't do anything more, anything less, and then walk out. So it's like you gotta just create a discipline for yourself. It's okay to do your wants too, but as long as it doesn't take away from something you're supposed to do. So that creates anxiety as well, because if you spend money on something you're not supposed to spend money on, and you still need that money, now you're gonna be like, oh, how do I get this money back? Oh, I shouldn't have did that. Now you're feeling guilt, stress, and anxiety about the whole situation. All right, that was good. Yeah, that's how I used to be. I'm like, I learned, let me shop. Get what I came to get. Don't go to the store hungry. All right, so, we're really talking about financial trauma and how we overcome it and how we have to know how to make decisions and don't let, even if we have the scars, don't let that dictate how we're gonna spend the rest of our lives. So yes, we've been there, we've seen the bad decisions, we've made the bad decisions. Dysfunctional reaction to chronic financial is stress. That's pretty much everything I've just been talking about. It affects your ability to live a normal life because you're constantly in a state of anxiety, stress, near anger, hurt, whatever. So you're not even able to enjoy what you're doing or how you're spending your money. It can interfere with life functions. Basing patterns around money sometimes can be negative. So another big thing people do, we did talk about the overspending kind of already, but financial avoidance, that's the one I like. I actually created something with my clients, kind of like where they had that dance where you went like this back in the day. I said, they'd be like, don't look. So a lot of people that have their money in the market right now, especially with all the things, I don't talk politics, but there's a lot of things going on where it's affecting people's money. I had somebody call and told me the other day, I just lost a lot of money. People wanted to retire last year and they were like, I lost four years of retirement savings in one drop of the market. And people were just like, I'm not gonna look. And that's not a solution. And that's just with market stuff. But how many situations down to earth for those of us that might not have our money in the market, or we might not check the bank account that day because we knew a transaction came out. It could be little stuff. It could be, oh, well, this is happening in my household, but we're not talking about it as a family. We're not seeing what we can fix. We're just like, okay, the bill came in, it's piling up, I'm not gonna open it. Have any of you guys did that? Where you just ignored it? Or is everybody in here financially dealing with their stuff and facing it? But if you are, that's good. But there are people, I've seen bills pile up, and I'm like, do you even know what the bill is? Do you know how much they'll be like, oh, I can't do nothing about it right now, so I'm gonna leave it for later. People do that. So if you're not doing it, you're one step ahead of the game. But some people will just not, well, I can't afford to pay it, so I'm just gonna ignore it and let it be. And they'll wait till it gets to collections, maybe somebody comes to court, somebody comes repossess their car, so they never figure out, how do I fix it? Is there another way to deal with it? So financial avoidance is not the answer. It's seeking the solutions. That's why I keep saying the word solutions. Not saying that everything can always be fixed. Some things you might take losses on. It's just gonna be a part of life, and you have to be okay with that. But as long as you're making the best decisions on trying to avoid that happening again, if you can avoid bad things happening again by just doing good practices. So we just wanna make sure that, hey, if you have been through those things, how do we change those behavior? The way you see things and the way you act. And then this is a big thing, lack of financial boundaries. So if you are a compulsive and impulsive buyer, or, hey, I went to, I know back in the day, friends would go to the club, that's buy all the bottles at the table, and not think about it, it would probably be crying tomorrow, you know, I didn't do it, but I knew people that did, and I'm like, you just spent $300 here, $400, yeah, on nothing. But people do that. They might go splurge and just say, I'm gonna have this vacation and have a good time, and I'll deal with the fallout when I get back, you know. So you wanna set boundaries for yourself, bottom line. You gotta know what the things you're not gonna do and the things you're willing to do. So we kinda pretty much just talked about all that, avoiding conversations about finances we know are not good, ignoring bills, not checking bank statements, spending, overspending. Also, underspending is a real thing too, because you can have money and then not, because you're so scared to not want to be in a bad situation or to lose, you might just be, we call it frugality or whatever we call it, you just might not want to spend because you're so scared. I don't want to spend this money. But you really have it. But that's where budgeting comes into place, knowing how much you can spend and be okay. We don't want people not to just be scared to spend. It's okay to spend, that's what I said. You can have a want list. You can have a, called the play account, you know, but just have your limitations and your budget around it. Hey, if I go out and eat at a restaurant today, I'm not gonna spend more than $100. Or if I go do this and go to this place, I'm gonna buy the ticket. I might buy a few paraphernalia on the way out, but I'm not gonna go spend $10,000 when I go to this concert. It could be anything. But just having a budget on how you control your spending and not spend the money you're not supposed to touch. So wealthy versus rich is pretty much, we've been talking about myself. Now, wealthy and rich are two different things. People think being rich and wealthy is one and the same. It's not. You can be rich and you can have, you've seen people that have a lot of stuff. You know, they have the cars, and the house is an asset. So I'll say a house is an appreciable asset. But there are people that live beyond their means, where they buy the house they really can't afford. So there's a difference. You can have a lot of stuff, but it might not really make you wealthy. So it's about how you manage. You gotta, wealthy people are able to control. So keyword control, what I call control is like what I call in business. You're managing your finances. Your finances is your personal business. If people treat your finances like running a business, that is wealth mindset. Because now you're managing your assets in your life as if it's a business that pays you. So you're paying yourself through your own personal finances, but it's being managed. So control is what wealthy people do. Most wealthy people own nothing and control everything. So we talked a little bit about 20 minutes ago about having, maybe you might have an estate plan where it protects you, where you're able to give generational wealth. So that asset becomes part of that trust, and the trust is managing the affairs of your estate, whether it's your bank accounts, if you are blessed to have the houses one day, or if you already have them, or whatever you get, you're just managing it. Now, rich people, they just have a lot of stuff, but the money is not really sustainable. You know, that's why you hear about people go broke, or they go bankrupt. You're like, how did they go bankrupt? They had like $10 million last week. Oh, they had 10 hit records, or especially with entertainers and stuff. And the reason that happens with entertainers and athletes, they're not getting the financial education. They get these $1 million contracts, but they don't know where to put the money at, what to do with them. So they're rich, but they're not necessarily wealthy.
You're at 40.
Okay. Now, change. I mean, this is just gonna be a personal thing for everybody. This is not something I could teach anybody in a finance class. You have to wanna do the work, you know what I'm saying? Like I treat everything like a 12-step program. That's my life. I say it's one step at a time, one day at a time, and I used to say it's 1 hour at a time. I have to choose every decision I make. I have to be accountable for the things and the decisions that I make. Accountability is something that I learned 13 years ago. I was like, what's really being accountable? It's not that I'm necessarily doing something wrong, but I have to be accountable to the decisions that I make. Am I making an informed decision? Did I make that decision with the right information? So at least if I feel like I was informed and I did try to do the right thing, at least I'm not gonna feel bad, like we have these feelings after doing something, because I actually did the right thing if it didn't work out. But if I know I'm not doing the right thing, I have to be accountable for my behavior. If I relapse and go back and do something I'm not supposed to do, I gotta get back on that bandwagon. I always treat like money is like an addiction. So people that really were emotionally tied to money, money can be an addiction. So how do you separate your emotions? How do you become separate from the money and let the money, not to make, what do they say, don't make the money, let the money make you? You're supposed to make the money, you know? So, you know, you just wanna make sure that, you know, people normally don't change, but it's up to you. Each one of us can decide tomorrow, hey, this is the goal I wanna achieve, there's no limit, and I'm gonna make as much informed decisions as possible to get there. And I'm not gonna make my decisions based on emotion. So all these things we just talked, you know, changing by talking about it, understanding your feelings, whatever that meditation is for you, whether it's praying and, you know, getting information, knowledge, take away yourself from separate toxic narratives. So like I said, if you're on social media, make sure you're being careful of the information that you're receiving, so that when you make the decisions, those things are at the back of your mind. If you have toxic people in your life, that's up to you, but I'm gonna tell you, those people can drag you down. If somebody's making bad financial decisions, whether they're in relationship with you or around you, that can influence and cause problems for you as well. So they always say, if you're in a room full of millionaires, more than likely you'll be the next millionaire. If you're in a room full of people that's not doing the right thing, like when we were younger and teenagers, they said don't hang out with the bad crowd, because you'll end up maybe in a situation where you might be more liable to make a bad decision. It's okay to forgive yourself, ask for help. I had somebody that had to be honest with me the other day. I had a client told me his house was going to foreclosure. And I said, well, why didn't you tell me sooner? We could have fixed it. But he said he had so much pride, he didn't want to admit that this was happening to him. So we have to be okay with, hey, this is happening. But if we're bold enough to, hey, make a better decision, ask for help, then we're moving in the right direction. Don't be, people are prideful about their money. Especially I've been in households, talked to households where the husband and wife, they don't even talk to each other about, they keep separate bank accounts. One person is struggling, one person is okay. I said, this don't make sense. Y'all together, right? Y'all got kids together. The decisions you make are gonna impact your children together. So you should be having that conversation. So you gotta talk about it. And remember, you're worthy. There's nothing that we can't achieve. Nobody in this room can do whatever they wanna do. If you wanna do the most elaborate thing or just, you know, moderate thing in life, you can achieve it. So no amount of money, oh, this is a big thing too. No amount of money can fix your problems. Like I said, there's people that have it all and they're still not okay. They're still committing suicide. So money is not I would say money is not the solution to everything. Money is a tool. If you treat money like a tool, then it doesn't own you. It doesn't run you. The money could be a tool to something, but you don't have to be controlled by it. All right, so we made it through the first chapter. So this is the time where if any of you guys want to, you know, give insight, and remember I told everybody that wasn't here before, you know, don't ask questions that are like too specific to your situation, because we can't give advice right now, but we do want to make sure you ask a question that maybe might help anybody around it. So does anybody have any questions or insights?
Do you think it's safe to put your money in the bank?
It's safe, but is it the best investment?
No.
May not be. Now, I am a former banker. Like I said, I can't get finance advice today, but I will say the rates and the productivity of just a regular bank account or savings account, it doesn't produce like some other investments will. So that's why you have to talk to somebody, see what's the best things, or even safe things. You don't want it, like I said, all on the market, but you can have a diversified portfolio and find avenues that may work for you, whatever that means for you. There's so many different ways. That's another class. We are gonna do a savings class, where we will talk about different places. We can't tell you exactly what vehicle to put your money in, but there are many ways to save your money outside. Now, banking, I do believe you should have at least 6 months or 3 to 6 months at the minimum worth of savings that you can just go and access in an emergency. So that'll help on some of these things we just talked about. If something comes up unexpected, you do wanna have money that you can grab that's not penalized if you take it out, all right? Does that answer it? This is resources for anybody. You can take whatever you want. Yes, absolutely. You got a question? No? What's your name? You got a question?
No, I didn't have a question.
Okay, anybody else have a question?
You know something about trust fund?
Trust?
And what basically is that?
Say that again?
What is it basically?
I'm gonna go deeper into it, but a trust is basically you power of an entity to protect your assets. So an EIN, if you heard of an EIN like you have for a business, a trust literally is it has its own EIN number. You register it, and the EIN, you can move your assets to be the owner, move the assets to the trust, for the trust to be the owner of your assets. So if you have bank accounts, some people own real estate free and clear, some banks will take it if you have a mortgage, but it just depends on the person, but meaning all the assets move into the trust. Now, the trust, it takes it out of your social security number. So you're not the individual that owns it, so you're not liable. So say somebody came sued you today, and they said, I'm gonna take everything you got. They can't take what's in the trust. Yeah.
So with the trust, is it possible to make a trust fund for other people? Like, I wanted to do a trust fund for some kids, right? They are not mine. So, is it possible to do this without their parents being able to touch it?
Yeah, obviously, if you're gonna include somebody's social security number, you have to get their permission, but there are trusts for like community and nonprofit organizations. So if it's like something like where they're not directly related to you, now if they're family, I always say sit down and talk to the family members. Like me, I wanna do one for my nieces, my nephews, like I have one for me and my children, but I would love to do it for my extended family. Then you probably wanted to still have a conversation with the parents. Now, if you're talking about trust generally, like if you're gonna,
It would
okay.
be for my kids.
Oh, okay, so it's family really. Okay, so that makes it a little easier.
Yeah, these kids are not mine, but
Okay.
they're siblings.
Okay, understand. So when you're using somebody's, I would say they would be beneficial. Now, you can still name somebody in a trust to be a beneficiary. So there's different people that operate differently in a trust. There's the trustee. So that's the person that kind of, executes whatever the directives of the trust says to do. So remember, the trust is a legal document. So in a trust, you can stipulate what you want to happen with your assets, whether you're living or not. There's two different types of trust. There's a revocable trust, and there's an irrevocable trust, meaning one you can make changes while you're still living, and then one you're not able to make changes. Once it's set in stone, that's it. Can't be any adjustments. That's a whole other class. But that's the basics of how to explain. But I think everybody should know. I preach it from the rooftops. It's not a secret anymore. The wealthy people, that's what they said. They thought it was just for the wealthy, and it's hidden from us because if we all pass generational wealth, that means it's powerful, right? Absolutely. Yeah. Any other questions? Those are good
I
questions.
did have this is not related to the class. Do you know there's a restaurant somewhere in the island?
Was she up there? I think it's back there.
That little dark area right there.
Okay.
All right. And just like everybody's doing, if anybody wants to pick up material, how to get information in between these little breaks, you can do that as well. So if you want 2 more minutes to stretch for a second, bathroom, and then we'll go to the next section.